I think my boyfriend is going to kill me. I'm terrified I could kill him first. Okay, look, this isn't a post detailing my desire to kill my boyfriend. It's a cry for help for both of us. I'm currently locked inside my content manager's house. The idiot forgot I had my phone stuffed down my bra. My boyfriend Freddie is locked in the bedroom, but I have no doubt he's going to get out, and my head feels like someone shot a proton beam through my skull. I keep getting nosebleeds. I can't think straight. Something is keeping me here, keeping me close to him. I can hear his breathing. I feel like I can feel his thoughts, a tangle of nonsensical garbage choking his brain. I tried to leave. I tried to jump out of the window, but something pulls me back. Something I can't explain. Something wrapped around me, choking me. Whatever it is, it drags me back to the door my boyfriend is behind. Bloody tissues top the trash can, and every time I go to the bathroom, I watch dried scarlet swirl around the drain, blood sticking like tea leaves to the white porcelain. I keep thinking what happened to me was a nightmare, or a drug-induced hallucination. But I feel a bald patch at the back of my head. Bastards! Stitches line my scalp. Clumsy, uneven, done with an amateur's hand. I told them not to touch me. I fucking told them I didn't give my consent, so why is he doing this to me? Let's rewind a bit. When I was in high school, I lost my father, and for a while I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to describe how I was feeling. Someone told me to write like I'm talking to someone, so I can capture every insignificant detail. I need your help. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to write everything I'm thinking, feeling, all of my senses, so I can get a full grip on myself. I've already spoken to emergency services, but they think I'm screwing with them. I'm keeping my name and everyone else's private so I can use this information. Maybe take it to court. I'll be using placeholder names for everyone involved to avoid attracting attention to myself. As of today, March 14, 2025, our individual and joint TikTok accounts are private due to complications. Complications meaning my boyfriend is a fucking psychopath trying to break the door down. I wouldn't say we're big accounts, only really in our small town. We've been locked in here so we can get to know each other. But here's the thing. Freddie has tried / is trying to fucking kill me. He's covered in blood and keeps rambling about things that don't make sense. He's thrown the TV against the wall, destroyed the fish tank, and is currently trying to cut through the door with his own bloodied fingernails. I'm sitting in shattered glass and I'm fucking terrified. Without thinking, I find myself reaching for a splinter of glass, squeezing it between my hands. I can't feel it. But it's not just that. It's not just feeling. It's thinking. The longer I think about the glass piercing the flesh of my hand, bad thoughts start choking me, and that impossible sensation pulling me towards him only gets stronger. These fucked up thoughts choke me, stifling my screams. I want to stay with him. I want him to break the door down. I promise I am a completely normal person. I've never had these kinds of thoughts before. But now I can't even trust my own mind. I don't know why I feel like I'm fucking drowning, and my head feels like it's going to explode. I've known Freddie since college, which is where this mess began. I met him in the library. He was the obnoxious kid sitting opposite me chewing his gum way too loud, so I stuck my headphones in. Freddie wasn't conventionally attractive. His tousled brown hair, oddly shaped nose, and loud Hawaiian shirts made sure of that. This boy wasn't even working. When I glanced over the desk, he was busy filming himself reading. His iPhone propped up in front of him. Then he had the nerve to tell me to turn my music down. So, naturally, I cranked it up just to irk him. In the end, he made a huge deal of getting up, grabbing his backpack, dumping all of his shit inside, and loudly leaving the library. I didn't think much of him, until a few days later when he stopped me in the middle of the hallway. His backpack was open, spilling books, but I don't even think he noticed. Dude, he was grinning, a smile stretched right across his face. He was wearing his third Hawaiian shirt of the week, obnoxiously green, a pair of Ray-Bans shading his eyes. Do you know how many views we got the other day? Freddie shoved his phone in my face before I could reply. I found myself staring at a TikTok from his POV. Freddie was scowling, his gaze flicking across the table where I sat. Do you see what I have to deal with? He whispered on the video before panning and zooming in on me, nodding my head to my music, which, to defend him, was loud. Freddie spent way too long filming me without my consent, framing it as, well, I was just filming my surroundings and you happened to be there. However, when Freddie tapped on the comment section, There were several hundred comments demanding to know if I was his girlfriend, and to my horror, Freddie himself replying to one saying, "She is." Freddie must have seen my face, breaking into a playful grin. "So, I have a proposition. You filmed me without asking," I said. Freddie shrugged. "No, I was filming the table and you happened to be sitting there." He rolled his eyes. "Look, I don't want to be asking you this either, but I actually kind of maybe need a favor." He pretended to cough and was very obviously signaling to someone else in hiding. "By the way, it's the least you could do. I had to listen to you blasting edgy 2000s rock for 2 hours. You're either deaf or you're going to be deaf." I told him no, and he stepped in front of me, stuffing his phone in his pocket and folding his arms. "Okay, so what if I told you my account is monetized? Which, yes, means I'm a creator. I started out reading books in public and I got decent views. Until the dating rumors started, and now I'm in quadruple digits." His lips curled into a smirk, like he could tell I was already being swayed with money. It was true. I was broke. "Pretend to be my girlfriend in my videos," he said. "I'll split my profits 50-50ths. Before I could speak, he cut me off. "There are no strings attached, and don't worry. I literally have no interest in you in real life, so you don't have to stress about anything actually happening. It's not your fault. You're just not my." He paused, his eyes raking over me from head to toe. He raised a brow, lips curling into a smile. "Type." His grin broadened, and so did my urge to punch him square in the face. "Of course you can keep your distance, and I won't force you into anything. It's just, I don't know, think of it like a reality show? I can even ask my manager if he can, maybe write you some directions." I couldn't resist a laugh. "Wait, you have a manager?" His eyes narrowed. I noticed he was subtly trying to seem taller, standing on his toes. "Yes, I have a content manager," he said, with the tone of a bratty 2-year-old. "I'm sorry, is that surprising to you?" This guy was a grade A asshole. I would have rather stuck my head in a microwave than fake date him. He was clearly judgmental, looking me up and down, a slight curl in his lip, like even he was questioning his followers. It was also clear he was being told what to do, from the deer-in-headlights look in his eyes. Probably from his content manager. However, he was also offering me cash to be a faux girlfriend in his weird social media fantasy. I asked him how much he earned, and he happily showed me his statistics. So, I agreed to it as long as he introduced me to his content manager. I was excited, admittedly. I was given a starting payment, as long as I joined him in his videos the following night in his dorm room. I thought it would be hard to wear a mask, but it was effortless. I could smile and laugh and tease my boyfriend, while also seeing him as nothing more than he was, an attention-seeking egotistical sociopath. I introduced myself to his followers wearing a wide smile and he played along. We filmed a get-to-know-my-girlfriend video, which I was briefed on initially. Freddie told me all about himself and I had to mimic all of that on video. There wasn't much to say. His favorite novel was Animal Farm, his favorite food was cheesecake, and we met in high school. I was surprised it took off and how natural we were with each other. I found myself laughing, like actually laughing at his jokes, and the way he held himself, knowing exactly how to tease me. Or this ideal version of me. Surprisingly, he actually let me say what I wanted. There was no rules on what I could and couldn't say, so I exaggerated this dumb charade. Freddie was good is all I can say. This boy had built his so-called brand on smirks. He knew his audience would fawn over. Freddie knew exactly how to position himself to gain those followers. He could spend the whole video staring into my eyes with this stupid grin on his face, playing the intellectual but goofy boyfriend, with his arm wrapped around me, and the second we stopped recording he dropped the act, immediately shuffling away from me like I had an STD. "You can go now," he muttered, eyes already glued to his phone. I mocked a bow. "Thanks." He shrugged, jutting his chin toward the door. Whatever. I could have left, but part of me was eager to humble this guy. "So I haven't met your manager yet," I pointed out. He didn't respond, so I repeated myself in hopes he would send a rebuttal. "He's not in town right now if you must know," he muttered, collapsing onto his bed with a sigh, already filming himself. "Sue B is leaving for the night," he told his followers, pointing the phone at me. His voice was mocking. And if his followers had even half a brain cell, they would immediately clock he didn't like me. "Bye B," he said in a sing-song, not so subtly telling me to leave. This civil relationship continued throughout my first year of college, and into my second. Freddie and I made videos, and I admit, the more time we spent with each other, the closer we became. I saw him as nothing more than a job. I even adopted a new persona purely for the videos, a more peppy girly girl. I was starting to see comments doubting the relationship, pointing out me rolling my eyes every time Freddie said something like, "Sweetheart," or "Baby." But I wasn't the only one. This insufferable mess of a man couldn't even keep his facial expressions neutral when I was talking. Is he zoning out? Comments were starting to demand. Freddie is such an asshole, LMAO. I can tell he doesn't like her. Look at his face. That man does not gaf what she's saying. To combat the comments, Freddie reluctantly suggested we hang out. He just turned up outside my shared house pouting like a toddler, offering to take me on a date. His plan was to actually get to know me, which was my idea in the first place. You can't play a fake couple with a stranger, but no, apparently he was the influencer and knew exactly what he was doing. He couldn't control his audience's perception of him, however, so our date was more akin to damage control. Thus, I was expecting something like Five Guys or maybe even McDonald's. Instead, he drove me all the way up a mountain in our town, told me to sit on a blanket already spread out on the grass, where we watched the sunset together. He brought home cooked food in Tupperware, and he even remembered I was a vegetarian. Which meant, despite him zoning out while I was talking, Freddie was actually listening to me. That night, I laid it on him. I told him he was an egotistical monster, which made him laugh. He opened up to me, which I wasn't expecting. Freddie admitted he didn't actually want to do TikTok. He started it as a joke, but when his manager got involved, it became less of a hobby and more of a job for him. He doesn't actually know I'm here now, he admitted, sitting with his knees to his chest, arms wrapped around his legs. I'm supposed to propose to you on video, but I don't want to do that. He rolled his eyes and suddenly everything was coming out. If it makes you feel any better, I don't want to do this fake girlfriend thing either, he said, burying his head in his lap. It's weird and exploitive, and honestly, this whole charade is making me cringe. He sighed. But apparently that's what will get me views. I lay back on the blanket, my gaze on the moonlit sky. After a moment he joined me. So, you're not an egotistical asshole? I asked. He shrugged. I haven't read a book since my junior year of high school. I saw one comment say, "Oh my god, he's like so hot." Freddie mocked a Valley Girl accent and I found myself laughing. He's like definitely read all the classics. So naturally I ordered all the classics. Freddie pulled a face, and I was actually enjoying myself. I still can't get past chapter 3. I snorted. Which book? Animal Farm, he muttered. One commenter caught me reading the book upside down, so I had to prove I was reading it. I turned to him and something in my gut twisted. I was actually getting a flutter. You're serious? Well, yeah. Freddie was frowning at the sky. I don't like reading. It's all just words. You have a bookcase full of books, I said. I caught the slight curl of a smile on his lips. Yes, and I haven't read one of them. So you're a poser. I teased. I'm not a poser. Freddie scrunched up his nose, rolling his eyes. I'm just not being fully authentic with my audience. He sat up and surprisingly closed the distance between us, his warm breath tickling my cheek. You would be surprised how many influencers are acting on camera, he murmured, leaning closer. I'm not just talking about the big ones. The ones screaming about money and cars. He sighed, resting his elbow on my chest. Even the small ones, the so-called relatable ones sitting behind their cameras and offering a fraction of their lives. We're all lying, and we want them to believe our lie. Because they expect us to be perfect. He got a little too close, his lips finding mine, but I didn't pull away. Our followers build us, shaping and molding us into their perfect fucking toys. And no matter what, we follow their lead. Because at the end of the day, they're paying us to keep up what they want to believe in. Their little fantasy. He kissed me and somehow I found myself kissing back. How's that? Freddie said, pulling away. I noticed his eyes had darkened, lips curling into a scowl. I thought he was talking to me. What was he rating the kiss? But then he turned to a figure looming over us, a phone in his hand. It was an older guy, a sandy blonde wrapped in a red hoodie, and it slowly started to hit me what this was. This was content. I asked Freddie if he was fucking serious and he refused to look at me. In fact, when the man started toward him, he was already stumbling back. That was great, the guy said, his lips curved around a cigarette, one hand holding the phone. I jumped to my feet, a shiver sliding down my spine. Freddie didn't move as the guy danced around him, capturing every angle. But where was the intimacy? I didn't bring my light, because it's supposed to be grainy. It's supposed to be a romantic moment. I bit back a cry when the guy grabbed Freddie by the scruff of his jacket, yanking him to his feet. That wasn't a kiss, the man said, shining his phone flashlight in my face. This was the first time I had felt real fear, being stuck on a mountain with a nut job. Freddie didn't speak until we were shoved into this guy's car. And I realized, my palms going clammy, that he had locked us in. Freddie sat as far away from me as possible, completely shutting down. "This is my friend," he said, his gaze glued to the window. I tried really hard to pretend not to notice my fake boyfriend's hands were shaking. "Also my content manager. Harvey." The man introduced himself, twisting to shoot me a grin. "Freddie's known me since he left high school. I made that boy who he is today." "Hi." I spoke through my teeth, my heart hammering. "I'm not doing this anymore." Freddie nudged me and at first I ignored it. Harvey said. "Sorry B, what was that?" Freddie kicked me before I could speak, and then I caught his eyes subtly nodding to the passenger seat, to a loaded gun. I felt myself retract back into my seat, my toes curling while searing my throat. "It's nice to finally meet you in the flesh B," Freddie's friend said cheerily. "You're a good girlfriend. You're authentic enough. I can actually believe you like him." He laughed and found myself gripping faux leather seats. Freddie grabbed my hand, squeezing it. I couldn't tell if he was apologizing or using me as an anchor. "However, I do want to remind you he's your boyfriend, not your pet. So I'll be expecting more intimate content as we go forward." He shot me another grin and I forced myself to nod. "Freddie kid, you are good." I loved the raw emotion, the subtle kiss. It was perfect. He turned back to the wheel. "What did I always tell you?" When Freddie didn't answer, Harvey slammed his fists into the wheel. I said, "What did I always fucking tell you?" "Sex sells," Freddie whispered, staring into his lap. Something slimy crept its way up my throat. I was already subconsciously trying to unlock the door. I couldn't fucking breathe. "I'm not." I didn't mean to cry out, my breath lodged in my throat. I caught myself when the man laughed. "Dude, I don't actually mean fuck him. Jesus Christ, who do you think I am? Look, sex sells. So you're going to sell an authentic romance. Stay intimately close, exchange kisses, maybe make a dirty joke. You know, that type of thing." I nodded slowly, keeping track of his right hand and how close it was to the gun. I chose my words carefully. "Okay, so what if I'd rather not do it?" I spoke through my teeth. "I can give back the money," I added, well aware of how fucking desperate I sounded. I couldn't look Freddie in the eye. I enjoyed this and it was an experience, but if I'm honest, I'm actually really behind in class. "So your mom's stable, dude." Harvey cut me off, speaking to Freddie. I saw the triumphant smile curling on his lip. "Aren't you glad she's off life support now? She's so proud of you, bro," he sighed, his lips breaking into a grin. Who would have thought her own son would be financially supporting her? "You're a good boy." That was what settled it. In a single night, I went from a reluctant faux girlfriend to something more akin to a captive. I was given a schedule and then a joint TikTok account was established. With Harvey involved, I did have directions. I had to change my entire personality, becoming a beauty influencer when I knew nothing about makeup. Harvey proposed I should become more pastel, changing my clothes, my hair color, and even redecorating my bedroom. You are probably wondering how and why I didn't call the cops. I was on camera 24/7 when Harvey set up cameras in my room. He was charming to my roommates, playing the perfect guy. Even when I did heavily hint that something was wrong, they would laugh nervously like they didn't want to believe it. Harvey made it very clear that if either of us tried anything, he would personally pull Freddie's mother from her life support. And again, he was so fucking good at playing the nice guy, nobody would believe us. When Freddy gained weight in his face and one comment immediately began tearing him down, we were dragged all the way to the hospital, where Freddy was forced to watch his mother completely helpless, while his friend paraded around, offering cupcakes to his mom's nurses. He even broke down, hugging him, whispering, "It's going to be okay." This guy was an actual psychopath. So I dropped college and I started my full-time job as Freddy's girlfriend. Harvey bought us a house so it would be easier to film videos. I was allowed to go back to my own house provided I stayed quiet. I started to resent my fake boyfriend as the years went by. I turned 21, and my party was the three of us sitting together talking about content ideas. Freddy became a shell of himself, wearing a mask when we were filming. But slowly, that mask started to crumble, and so did my patience with being a content prisoner. I started to hate him. I hated that he refused to say no to his psycho friend, and I hated that he dragged me into his shit. The gun was one thing, and yes, his mother was being held against him, but he didn't do anything. He just played along. It became clear, however, halfway through 2024, that he hated me too. Freddy wouldn't look me in the eye off camera, and even he did, he just snorted, adopting Harvey's cruel smile. He started to insult me, calling out my makeup for being too thick, or my clothes for being revealing, or not revealing enough. He berated me for eating too much or too little and constantly reminded me I was old enough for surgery. I could tell this was all coming from Harvey, but he didn't even attempt to fucking apologize. Harvey was just using him as a mouthpiece, but it fucking stung. Freddy was like a puppet, desperately dancing on his strings, for that psycho's satisfaction, and to keep his mother alive. I hated him. Or at least, I hated who he was on camera. The grinning mannequin silently crying for help. It was impossible to act like I could stand him. When he came near me, my skin fucking crawled and he'd smile and say something like, "Baby, are you okay?" I had to play along. Stuck in front of the camera, I taught myself how to swallow down puke. It got easier. I just had to keep smiling, nodding, and every so often glancing at my boyfriend like he was the second coming of Christ. Freddy acted more like I was his pet than his girlfriend, keeping me at arm's length, and the comments ate it up. Apparently, according to them, our subtle looks meant I was either pregnant or we were planning a proposal. In reality, he had something stuck in his teeth and I didn't want to kiss him. When I pointed it out, the man-child had a mental breakdown and stormed out. So, I became an influencer. I won't say we were big enough to go viral, but definitely big enough in our town to be seen as famous. 3 days ago, it became evident via our comments that we hated each other. We've been doing this since 2020. I was surprised it took this long. I woke up to death threats and threats to my family because apparently, I was poisoning our boy. Their boy was perfectly fine. He had been, when I saw him the night before, drunkenly kissing me off camera, muttering that he had a plan, and then left me wondering if maybe he'd gotten help. Underneath the multitude of death threats and insults to my appearance, was Harvey's usual text. "Good morning, darling, winky face. I have a surprise for you. You two are clearly suffering in the romance department, and we can't have that. Your late Valentine gift is here. I'm outside. I have eyes on you, by the way. Don't think I didn't hear your chat last night. You two are cute, but I want you to be even cuter." Another text flashed up, but I was paralyzed to the spot. "Take off that jacket. You wear pink, remember? Heels too, sweetheart. Come on, you're a woman. Fucking act like one." With a mouthful of puke, I changed my jacket for a light pink shawl. I ducked into the bathroom to heave up my breakfast, before another text came up. "Don't puke. It's gross. Drink water. If you puke in my car, your BF will be paying for it." He was watching me. I texted Freddy, panic contorting my gut into knots. "Where are you?" His response came immediately, riddled with typos and spacing. It wasn't his usual typing style. "I'm in Cat. Where you? Run to station in Mokizdum's 29200 car." He meant car. Freddy was supposed to run. I thought he'd finally ran. I felt almost crippled, my legs giving way, my chest aching. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't fucking do this anymore. I found myself gripping a paperweight, imagining slamming it into Harvey's head. It would be so easy. The thought was poisonous, delusional, but comforting. Harvey was just a man with a gun. He wasn't an indestructible monster. We could still run when we had the chance. When I reluctantly slid into Harvey's Prius, the back seats were covered in bright pink balloons. Freddie, my faux boyfriend, was handcuffed to the door, his eyes frantic like he was trying to speak, but every time he tried, he couldn't. I noticed his dark hair was shorter, tucked under a baseball cap. I noticed Freddie's phone on the front passenger seat. That explained his typos. Hands where I can see them, sweetheart, Harvey warned, maintaining his smile, his gaze tracking me in the mirror. Come on, B. You know the drill. I complied, raising my hands, and then placing them palms down on my seat. His paranoia stemmed from me trying to hit him with a vase. That was the first time I got a gun pointed right between my eyes, and I realized at any point I could die at the hands of this psycho. Harvey turned back to the wheel. I've got a surprise for both of you, he sang, and I caught Freddie's sharp glance. We're fucked, he mouthed. It's called Cupid's arrow, and it's my late Valentine's gift to the two of you, Harvey announced. You don't have to thank me, but it did cost me like the majority of my savings, and that cash you thought you were hiding from me so you two could run away together, which is so cute. He drummed his fingers on his knees. Now that's what I want. I want running away together. But I got to be able to record it, you know? I want real romance, a relationship I can believe and root for. Instead of whatever the fuck you two mannequins are playing. Freddie visibly stiffened in his seat, and the asshole continued, rubbing it right in his face. I saw the crease in his brow, his fists clenching, his bottom lip quivering. He wanted his mom. That's all he wanted. Freddie wanted to protect her. Anyway, bro, the whole running away thing is adorable. But the plane tickets? Your little late-night chats with Granddad? Oh, and trying to move your mommy? Yeah, you weren't subtle, Freddie. He laughed. But it's cool. Your grandpa's stuck in a white room, barely remembering his own name, and the plane tickets? Sold them on X for some ice. Freddie turned away from me suddenly, pressing his head against the window. I could hear his attempt at stifling his sniffles against the back of his hand. Having hope for the first time only to plunge into despair in the same second was enough to unravel me completely. I broke apart, squeezing my lips together to stifle sobs that were racking my chest. Harvey turned, wearing a smug grin when he stopped the car. I had zero idea where we were. A silver building looming over us with checkerboard windows. Ah, come on. Smile a little. I got you a Valentine's gift. Valentine's Day was last month, Freddie deadpanned. Where the fuck are we? Harvey's cryptic smile widened. You're going to love it. I found my voice more of a breathy hiss. Love what? Instead of responding, Harvey ushered us out of the car. He only had to glance at his gun, and already we were dancing on his strings, too scared to protest. He led us inside the building, which at first glance reminded me of a dental office. There was a comfy sitting area. Freddie, rubbing his sore wrist, picked up a leaflet, flipping through it. I peered at it. It was just teeth. Wide, glistening smiles. He's getting our teeth cleaned? Freddie shot me a look, his brow raised. Harvey was talking to the receptionist, and I was far too aware of the doorway right behind us. He was too. With a wide, fake smile in Harvey's direction, he nudged me with his hip, pushing me closer to the door. I admit. Yes, I wanted to run. I was so close. But Freddie and I weren't the only ones being held against my will. I shoved him back. Your mom, I said through my teeth. If I run, he will hurt her. Freddie looked like he might reply, before a screen flashed in front of us. Introducing. This Valentine's Day, get closer than ever to your one. A female AI droned, hearts cascading across the screen. Cupid's arrow is state-of-the-art technology designed to bind two hearts as one. A visceral sensation came over me as I watched the demonstration unfold. Two faceless figures standing side by side. The Cupid's arrow procedure is painless. You won't feel a thing. The AI drawled as a male figure lay dropped down onto a surgical table. A winding red ribbon threaded into his skull, coiling around his heart. They were trying to make this look cute and funny when the male figure sat up with hard eyes. But I felt like I was going to puke. Next to me, Freddie had gone significantly pale, his lips wobbling. It's clearly an April Fool, my boyfriend whispered, his gaze glued to the screen. I didn't move from his side. It's March. He pulled a face. Well, maybe it's an early April Fool's? The demonstration ended with thousands of couples filling the screen, all bound by bright pink ribbon entangling each of them. You will never feel lonely again. Never wonder what your partner is hiding. The two of you will be bound, connected, entangled by thought, memory, and feeling. What could be a better gift this Valentine's Day? Ask for your consultation now. I was going to puke. With Cupid's arrow, you will become one bound by heart, mind, and soul for a better tomorrow. For you and your one. I was already taking slow steps back, Freddie joining me. Before we could reach the door, a couple walked past us, hand in hand. The guy's eyes were blank, vacant, and like a pigeon he slammed directly into the glass door. The girl pulled him to her. The two of them reminding me of snakes, entangled around each other. They weren't speaking, their lips moving but no sound coming out. I only had to see the bald spot on the back of the woman's head to know I wasn't fucking staying in that place. I dragged Freddie to the door, but when I hit the ice-cold air, I realized he wasn't attached to me anymore. His clammy hand wrapped around my wrist was gone. I didn't understand how important he was to me, how much I needed him until he was gone, and I was standing in the open air, which lasted maybe 5 seconds. Unfamiliar hands wrapped around me, violently dragging me back. I called that bastard a psychopath and he just smiled. "It'll be great," he said, shooting me the thumbs up. "You're going to be head over heels for each other." Mississippi. Masked people in white reassured me, pulling me kicking and screaming into an elevator. They pricked me in the back of the neck, and before I knew it, I was lying on my back under intense light. "Hello, Beatrice," a muffled voice said above me. I screamed, but a plastic tube was stuck down my throat. I was tied down. "Don't worry, this procedure is very safe. It's designed to be safe." The masked surgeon grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. I almost felt comforted until I twisted my head. I could see Freddie on the other side of the room, his motionless body strapped to a bed. "Now tell me, the young man over there, is he your one?" Through feathered vision, I could make out slow stemming red seeping over the edge of the table. I fell, plunging into darkness with the word no on my lips. But somehow that thought became yes. It was like a parasite slow bleeding into my brain and taking an unyielding hold. It contorted my body, choking and suffocating my thoughts, until I could think about was him. All I could remember was him. I felt close to him in ways I couldn't understand. I wasn't conscious, and yet I could feel his heartbeat. I could sense his thoughts, garbled and nonsensical and screaming. I woke to alarm shrieking, screaming. Someone was slapping my cheek, trembling hands undoing my restraints. "Hey, sleeping beauty. Wake up. Harvey." I was barely conscious, half aware of him scooping me from the table. I was in pain. When I gingerly touched the back of my head, half of his hair was gone, stitches piecing me back together. I could feel something warm sliding across my fingers. Blood. Harvey carried me down hallways that twisted and bent under flashing red lights. Bodies littered each one, lying in pools of red. Harvey tripped over one, and I saw his foot go straight through someone's eye. Fuck. I wasn't fully aware of what I was doing until I was clawing out of his grasp and landing on the ground on my hands and knees. I couldn't breathe, my heart felt like it was being squeezed, my lungs ablaze. Where was he? The thought was almost feral, filling my head, choking me. He felt too far away, and I needed him to be with me so I could. The thought bled away when my focus landed on the dead nurse beside me, a cavern carved directly from her chest. Her heart was gone. I found myself crawling to another body, a man, his eyes still wide open. His heart had been ripped out, this time clumsily. I could still see pieces of it stuck inside the body. I don't know why I was so mesmerized by both the heart and its cavern. I found myself reaching forwards, drool escaping my mouth. "Stand up." Harvey stuck his gun in the back of my neck, the ice-cold steel making me shiver. I got to my feet, stumbling. He threw his jacket over my head, led me outside, and dumped me into the backseat of his car. The second I was in the car, I could breathe again, sucking in oxygen. I could focus, my vision clear. He was close. So close I could sense his breaths, his heart erupting into a frenzy. Bang! Someone was in the trunk. Bang! "Shut up, Freddie," Harvey yelled, one hand on the wheel. He twisted around to me. "Don't move. Move and I'll shoot you in the head." His voice broke, and Harvey's voice never broke. He always knew what to do. Harvey's voice was white noise. How am I supposed to know what happened? It was some weird fucking surgery, like I thought it was just going to shoot them up with pheromones, but this was the real deal. He paused, and in the silence I could sense Freddie's heart. The dude went nuts. Yeah, the girl is fine so far. MMM. Yeah, well, hurry up. The kid's mom kicked it last weekend, so I'm gonna need more hands. Harvey sighed. Yeah. Duct tape too. I'm running out, and this kid is a psychopath. I couldn't control the noises coming from my mouth, drool seeping down my chin. I just remember thinking I was close to him and I was content. I lay back, pressing my head against the seats. I was happy and so was he. I could sense his smile, his wide eyes searching for me. The loud banging in the trunk stopped, and I let the slow movements of the car lull me to sleep. For the second time, I awoke to someone looming over me. I had a vague memory of being hauled inside and dumped on the bed. Freddie, writhing around with a bag on his head, landed next to me with an, "Oof. Okay. You two can get to know each other a bit more." Harvey panted. "Back soon." This time I woke up to Freddie, covered in blood, scarlet smearing his face and neck. He wore a smile, knelt next to me. Half of his hair had been shorn off, stitches barely holding his scalp together. "I can smell it, you know," Freddie sighed, lying next to me, his fingers tiptoeing up my spine across my neck, deliberately prodding my stitches. When I winced, so did he, his body shuddering against mine. "It's like a beating heart, but it's more still." Freddie pressed his head to mine. "Shoo, can you hear it?" "I can hear it, and it's so loud, trapped between your skull, and so easy to tear out." His grin when I sat up didn't waver. I crawled off of the bed and he followed me. "Where are you going, B?" I hated leaving him. It physically hurt to turn away from him. I escaped out of the door, slamming it on his face before he could follow me. "B." His voice became a monstrous moan, then a snarl. "B, I want to be with you. Forever. Let me take you forever and you take me." When he forced his fingers through the wood, clawing through plywood, I barricaded myself in, shoving a cabinet against the door. I puked 3 times, eventually standing over the faucet and washed the blood from what was left of my hair. I kept pulling tiny pieces of ribbon still stuck to my scalp. It's been an hour since I started writing this. The cabinet isn't going to hold him. I keep circling the shattered glass on the floor, imagining myself slicing his throat, just like he's fantasizing about carving my brain from my skull and eating it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Whatever we are, we're not bound together. It's more than that, a poison taking over my fucking mind. It's making me want to hurt him. And I don't want to hurt him. It's making me want to stay close to him, when all I want to do is fucking run away. It violently pulls me back, like elastic entwining every nerve ending, and pulls me back to him. I'm scared of him, of what's been done to us,